All right. I've been asked how to set up a controller for Tarkov by a good handful of people. So today I'm going to do a tutorial. This is not my usual content, so bear with me. It may not be great, but it is going to be detailed. So first off, go to your browser, go to Joytikey, and then go to download, and then download. Ignore that pop up, and we should be able to go to files, downloads, Joytikey setup, and then just run through the setup processes. When you open this up, you'll be greeted with a blank profile. These just won't exist. It might have like profile one, like this here. We're gonna go ahead and make a new one, or you could work on profile one. We're gonna do Tarkov example, and so now you can see that it reacts. I've got a little overlay here. It's a little opaque. Usually I use it for the gaming side of things, but you can see it reacts to the buttons as they're pressed. So we're going to turn the left stick into our WASD. So you double click on that. That's left, so we need A. Right stick, or right on the stick, we need D. W. Forward sticking. S. So the right stick, that needs to be our mouse. That's our aiming stick. Unless you want to invert these, that's a personal preference. Just do these two backwards. Stick one is your left stick, stick two is your right stick. Obviously, if you want to run inverted sticks or something, that's something you can totally do. Mouse. Let's see here. So we got left. Needs to be left. Personal preference on sensitivities here, but 100 and 110 is where I have mindset. So then you just run all of these. Mouse, right, 100, 110. Not doing anything fancy. I mean, I guess technically you could say this whole thing's fancy, but it's actually kind of basic once you have the idea and feel for it. I use it for a lot of games, so this is a pretty easy process for me at this point. As I play all games on controller, I don't bother with KBM pretty much at all. Mouse down. Again, this part is totally personal preference. You could leave this at 50, mouse speed 100 when pressed, all that. Like that part, that's up to you. This is just how I have it set for Tarkov. As you can see, WASD, adjust, all that. Then this POV is your D pad. So mine, let's start with left to right, keyboard multi. So for me, I go 1, 2, 3. And then you hit this button right here. Switch depending on how many times the button is pressed. The reason I do that is because now if I tap it one time, it's 1. If I tap it twice, it's 2. If I tap it 3 times, it's 3. You could also do it based on how long it's pressed. I've not played with too many of these other options just because I really prefer this option, but feel free to play around with it, especially if you get comfortable with the software. Then for up, I like to have 4. Oh, not just 4. Let me take that back. Right click and clear if you make a mistake. Keyboard multi. I like to have 4 Let's see here. It's page up. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So again, clear. Page up. And then that will be V. And again, depending on how many times it's pressed in a short duration, you can up this if, say you can't click a button that fast, enough times, fair enough. Or you can get it shorter if you want faster reaction times to your clicks. Because obviously that will cause like a minor delay sometimes. Then right on the D-pad is going to be 6, 7. Actually, no, it's not. It's going to be 6 and something else. 5, 6 page down. Okay. That's what it is. So again, over here, double click, 5, 6, and page down. The page down and page up is zeroing for your scope, so you could, and that's what happened. That's how it'll look if you do it with a different thing here. All right. So, anyways, the way I use the page up and page down is that's the bind for scope zeroing. When I really like to snipe, I like to be accurate. I like to get like a good like zero on the scope and all that, like figure out where I'm hitting. And I'll even make like a screenshot and like make my own little dope chart for it. I know there's a website that covers it. I'm just picky. I prefer to do it myself. And then down on the D-pad, I have that as like a mouse adjustment speed button. I use that for like stash, stuff like that. It's not really a necessary one. Sometimes I use it to control the aiming, slow it down some. So that you could technically get a lot more binds out of this button. For me, it is mouse and just this. Uh, Boom. Mouse adjust 25% and that slows the mouse down to 25% of its usual speed. Uh just makes like the micro adjustments in the stash if you're trying to drag something into a specific slot easier, grabbing small items, stuff like that. It's useful for that. It can technically be useful for like slowing down your aiming, making it easier for like long distance shots, but I'm almost never using it in actual game. I'm using it for the stash, like majority of the time. Every now and then I'm using it for shots, but a lot of the time stash related. So again, you could end up using it for some other binds to really make use of a controller that doesn't have extra bumpers and buttons. Tarkov. So A, that's going to be space. That's going to be our jump button. Nope. A. Obviously varies based on whatever your controller type is. If you're rocking a PS 4 or 5 controller, X. Then we got B. This is going to be R, I think. Or sorry, not B. X is going to be R for reload. And then B is C, X, and N. And let's see here. So we got C for crouch, X for lay down, and N for our night vision goggles. Again, switch depending on how many times it's touched. That way we got our basic, positionings as well as our nods. Y is just going to be F. Again, I could probably get a couple more binds out of this button, but it's a good one to have just a basic bind on. There is definitely room for improvement on some of this. But as you see, it's starting to look real close. Then our bumpers, mouse wheel. You could get this to go faster. So left bumper, and this could also be a preference here. Wheel rotation, -10. That's going to be mouse wheel down. I lied. That's going to be mouse wheel up or whatever. Now this should be mouse wheel down. Yeah. And then mouse wheel up here, +10. Probably go a little higher, honestly. But it is what it is. The view button is our select button, and the menu button is our pause button, which over here, view is tab. Again, we could get some more binds out of this. I just don't like to get it too complicated on that one. Then I think that is. Oh, that's a weird feature. Let's see here. Menu button. Okay. Oh, W shift. So this is a way to have a bit of an auto run feature. So let's see here. Menu. W and then shift. Toggle between off and on. That allows you, if you tap that button, it'll just walk forward for you. If you, let's see, I think you have, if you're walking forward already and tap it, then it'll sprint forward for you. Let's see here. Obviously, right trigger is going to be mouse, left click. That's going to be to shoot. Left trigger is going to be mouse, right click. Let's see here. So I have K, which is my VoIP button on a right stick. Left stick has nothing. That's actually something I did in the IQ software. So for on left stick, this would be mouse again, and it would be middle button. That'll be for like dropping gear. No, folding stocks. That's for folding stocks. Again, another bind you could probably do without. Take it as you need it. Kind of a luxury bind. Change it out if you want something else there. Like you could have V there for folding out a bipod or many other bind pieces there. We should be getting close to done with what I've got here. Okay. So now this is where if you have a regular Xbox controller, this is going to mostly stop pertaining to you. Again, you've got multiple buttons here that we can play with. You can make A do a couple of extra things, like what I'm going to show in the IQ software. Um, for example, left stick, where I've got it being an M click, so I can make a gun shorter or longer in my stash. You could always bind that to G for grenade. Um, you could bind instead of having this mouse adjustment, you could put 7, 8, 9. I don't typically use much of that. I don't use 8 and 9 on the quick menu. That's a personal, choice. It again, you could put 7, 8, 9 on there, and then you'd have 3 on that one as well. Let's see here. What else are we gonna cover? Let's pop up the IQ. So this is the IQ software. Let's actually just go bottom to top on this. So keypad 11 is delete for dropping stuff. Okay. So that's for the quick drop. Then I made this left bumper D-pad down so that 25% adjust is just up here. It's next to the trigger. I can push the trigger in it at the same time if I want to. Makes it easier to where I can use it while aiming and moving easier for when I do want to use it for shooting. As you can see, I've got the M click on the left stick in the IQ software. If you've got an Envision Pro, you can do most of the stuff that I did on the Joy to Key in here. I do prefer the Joy to Key for like the D-pad stuff, like where I've got multiple binds, because I don't believe that's an option in here. Um, Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But from what I've played with in here, not an option. So you're going to need the Joy to Key for the multi-binds anyways. Moving up to 10, we can see that that's over here. That's my shift independently of that button shift and W. That way I can run based on one of these back paddles. Over here, we have control for the control clicks, moving stuff back and forth in the stash. Gonna be what? G for grenade is up here. We got 7 again on that left button. B is right next to that. That's going to be a bunch of binds, I believe. That's what shift fire, trip wires. Um, Actually, I think that's basically it. We'll check when we get Tarkov booted up. This one's L. We got a lot of binds on that. Again, I'll get to that shortly. T, E on the top right bumper. That's going to be for leaning. Q on the top left for leaning left. Alt again for some, I think that's actually for like quick equipping, if I remember the bind correctly. Then again, left mid is the middle mouse button, and that's the down on the D-pad. Is yeah, up there. And the other thing we are going to do is the thumbsticks. This is something that I've got mapped for specifically my Tarkov ones. I've got a custom mapping on the 2 sticks with the Scuff Envision Pro. This is something you'd have to play with to figure out on the Joy to Key side of things. This is new to me as well, but this is my current mapping that I set up like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been playing with it since, so can't promise that that's where I like it, but just food for thought. So we're in game now. I got us. We're in a practice mode, of course, so we won't be disturbed. And I got us to a nice flat spot so we can play with a few things. So, for example, tactical devices is T. I've got that bound to some of these front buttons. Again, you could put it on like down on the D-pad. If you've got a regular Xbox controller, get rid of that mouse adjust, which again isn't really huge for aiming. Like you just slow your mouse down a little bit by using your stick more, more or less aggressively. But you can also full hold on it and slow it down with that button. But all it takes is a little bit of stick control and you can get rid of that bind. Again, I use it mostly for my stash. Uh so yeah, you could put, like G for the grenade, T for this on there. This is going to be L, which is shift L is for my bipod, and then L without the shift is for my mount or dismount. So you could put, those on there. You could get rid of the page up and page down on the top and right buttons to allow for the other two for like, 5 for 7 and what else am I missing? B. You could put 7 and B on there. And that would get rid of the 5 buttons that I have across the front that are bound. Um, let's see here. Again, you could get rid of the one I have on the left stick, which is the middle mouse click for the stock folding, which that's that. Can be useful, but you've got the option to, you know, left trigger and then fold and unfold it. It's a little bit slower. I use it for convenience in the stash. I've got the buttons for it, but you can have absolutely get around it and get by without it. Um, Paddles again. We're leaning. You can put those on the sticks. Let's see here. So paddles are going to be for this. It's going to get really hard to get around some of these binds without at least having paddles, though, because like shoulder, right shoulder here, and click is how I quick equip. You can drag and drop. That's fine. That's a good way to get around it. Your looting's going to be real slow, and it's going to leave you to opportunities of getting killed while looting players and scavs, though. So take that as you will. But it is one you could technically get by without. D-pad, I don't have a sidearm, but one tap would pull out a pistol, two taps pulls out the sniper, three taps pulls out the HK, two tap back to sniper, one tap would be pistol. I tried to get it to where I could do the melee as well. Doesn't seem to work. Is what it is on that one. Let's see here. Down on my D-pad is Z, so it's drop. Oh, I think I saw that. Oh wait, no, I did switch that to where I could do the combat reload. Hopefully. Let's see here. Meds. I've got bound up this way. What I usually do is a Calloc goes here, AFAC, so like our bleed stoppers here, and then the meds to heal are here because I've got it set to controls and get down here. So slot four on press and then release. So if I have a bleed, it'll stop the bleed first and then it'll heal. If I don't have a bleed, it just heals. There's a few things you can do that with, to my knowledge, but like technically you could do that with a gun on 2 and 3, but then you run into the issue of not being able to equip a grenade launcher if you're trying to get it on. So food for thought. Like if it's an underbarrel, it won't work. Item lock is a double tap. That's a stash one that I use frequently. Tab, again, that's this button. Time and exits. I just have to reach over to the keyboard to hit that. Voice commands, again, keyboard. I don't really use them. So that's just something that's over on the keyboard if I need to. Hold breath is going to be left alt. So for me, that's this bumper again to hold breath while aiming. You could put it on, again, D-pads or a different button. But again, it's going to get tight if you don't have paddles. I recommend at least 4 paddles. Well, a minimum of 2. If you get 2 paddles, I think you could get by. I'd recommend at least 4. Other than that, it's going to be a real struggle. Other people may have a way around that for the way they bind them, but this is just the way I bind them. Again, lean, chamber check. You just double tap that and it'll clear it. That's going to be the mode change on your tactical device. Tactical, all that. We got a bunch of little binds here, but you have them all. It's going to take time and practice, 100%. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is not an easy process to learn, but it is doable. Oh, clicking back onto the game. Let's go ahead and get back here. Think at the end, oh yeah, the auto walk / auto run feature that I built in with that W shift. not super handy, but also like if you're just running across the map, kind of nice. You can set your controller down, grab a drink, do your own thing, you know? Obviously, you're not going side to side in that situation, so you're risking getting shot, but you can also go side to side while W shifting, you know, W keying. So you can play one handed for a second. Gives opportunity. But again, just a convenience one. If you don't have any more paddles, if you don't have paddles, you're probably going to need that button for another bind or two. Food for thought. At this point, I'm going to throw the screens up for a few so you have time to look at the binds and compare them, do them how I've got them if you would like to give it a try. It will also show your mouse sensitivity. I've got to 1. I haven't even touched that. It's 0.5. Double click timeout. I don't even know what that is. The adjustment sensitivity is just 1.